Welp, here we go again, back to not posting a video in a span of multiple months, but who's counting? Definitely not me. So, I still want to do the YouTubes occasionally, and here we are. Before we get started with the video, I do want to say that this channel is just going to be me experimenting with things I want to talk about or do, so this may be a one-off thing, or may continue on to be a set of videos, depending how I feel and if that's the direction I want to go. But enough of that now. Today I wanted to make my debut back into YouTube with a game that I had my eye on the moment that first trailer dropped. I'm of course talking about Resident Evil 3 Remake. If any of you watch me on Twitch, you probably know I cannot get enough of this series, and I really enjoyed the remake of Resident Evil 2 last year. Like, I'm really sweating this series, it's probably my favorite series in the bunch. Resident Evil 2 Remake was pretty much my personal game of the year. I have also been waiting for a new game in the series to feature the return of Jill Valentine, who I felt has been MIA for so long since the events of RE5 and her last playable adventure being Revelations back in 2012 for the 3DS. Jill is my favorite character in the series, and to see her making her return in this remake was exciting for me. The final product we got at the end of the day, though, left some things to be desired by a few fans I've talked to, with things such as cut content with some entire is being removed. The clock tower and the mercenaries mode, but who's paying attention to that? Definitely not me. What? So here I am attempting to talk about my thoughts on this game and see how this resonates with people. Let's hope this isn't a complete dumpster fire, fingers crossed. In this game, we get to take control of two tall drinks of water, being Jill Valentine and Carlos Oliveira, both having some unique skills, with Jill having the emergency evade, and Carlos being beautiful and being able to punch and shove zombies, depending on your timing. I really like that they brought back the emergency evade from the original RE3 and revamped it for modern times. When I originally played through RE3 Nemesis, I had a lot of trouble with the timing of the evade, and sometimes even did it when I didn't mean to, leading me to be positioned in an unideal situation. This game, I am happy that they have decided to map it to a particular button this time around that causes Jill to shuffle away from the undead, and if timed right, even do a stylish roll, impressing all your enemies so much they're in awe of you, where you can then score a critical shot, or maybe three, whichever one happens first. This by far is my favorite thing in the game. I love just doing runs where I attempt not to shoot a single zombie and just get by with the emergency evade. It's pretty epic. Carlos being able to just punch through zombies when timed right feels pretty satisfying, but it's definitely harder to land for me. Maybe I just need more practice? It sounds like I get good mode for myself. I just gotta get good. So at this point, I'm going to start going in depth on particular points in the story that I want to talk about. Just throwing out there that good look and spoiler warning for anyone that may want to still experience this game blind. Can always come back after you play through it and see if, we come to a similar conclusion. With that out of the way, let's go on. Right off the bat, I have to say, this game has one of the best intros I've seen for a big baddie in a video game. I love how the game really just starts slow with the player being able to explore Jill's apartment, getting some context clues of how Jill is doing after the events of the Spencer Mansion incident. We see that Jill has a bit of PTSD after the Nightmarish incident. I love that they did this. It adds to her character and makes it a more believable setup. I do wish they kept with this a little more, because once the game begins rolling, Jill only has one other occurrence where that comes up again in the game. Anyways, I do like that the game allows you to explore Jill's apartment freely, up until we answer a phone call from Brad.
Alright, let me grab my...
That, honestly, was one of the best scenes to me in the game. I first played through this game on a Twitch stream, and that got me good. It was very sudden, and I didn't see it coming. The game just throws you on this roller coaster running away from Nemesis. While this is a mostly scripted section, it still is quite a spectacle. Side note, I do wish we could actually have Nemesis wear the bag throughout his time in Stage 1 form. I kind of find it more intimidating and creepier than without. I don't know if it's just me, but that's just... I feel like, I don't know, it looks pretty intimidating. The next thing I would like to talk about is the lovely Brad. I feel like there was something missed here. The trailers to me seemed like he was going to have a bit more going on within the story before his untimely demise at the hands of Nemesis, but that never happens. Brad actually dies off screen, and I just found that so confusing that we didn't get to see that happen. During my first playthrough, I thought the developers were doing a fake on us and that he would just show up at some point to save Jill during a Nemesis encounter. But no. Later he actually just shows up as a zombie. I know it's very minor since Brad didn't have a big role in the original game. It's just something that stuck with me personally. I also thought it was a missed opportunity that it wasn't Jill that had put him down with the RPD, but Carlos. I think it could have been a very dramatic moment if it had to be Jill to take down her old teammate. Going back to Nemesis, I have had countless discussions with people in the past about which game brought more spooks when it comes to the remakes. Nemesis definitely brings a lot of spooks to the yard, but I have to be honest and say Mr. X was scarier for me. And the fun part is, he didn't really have nearly as much mobility or weapons that the Nemesis has. He just has fists. I mean, Nemesis has a rocket launcher. I'm confused. I think this problem occurs because Nemesis does tend to take a lot of breaks throughout this game. where Mr. X in RE2 Remake is constantly exploring hunting you down while Nemesis does do this, just not nearly as frequent in a free, open setting. A good chunk of the encounters with Nemesis are scripted segments. This isn't bad, just a little disappointing because I would have loved more open-ended areas of Nemesis just roaming around and Jill having to avoid and flee from him while collecting key items and solving puzzles. By this point, you may be realizing I am definitely skipping over some points of the game. I am not here to do a recap of everything in the game, but main points that stuck out heavily in my mind, which this next part I do want to talk about is Carlos going to the RPD over Jill. I think for the context of the story, it makes perfect sense for Carlos to explore there since it's their mission to search and find Dr. Bard. We get treated to some good fan service like how the locker room wall gets destroyed as well as how certain events transpired before the events of RE2 Remake. That was pretty solid. I was disappointed that we never learned how the wall on the 3rd floor got blown up since it has to be before Leon and Claire arrived to the RPD. Guess Mr. X just did it off screen before babyface Leon arrived? Maybe Marvin just went ham and did an RE5 Chris Boulder punch? Who knows? We don't. Side note, this is my favorite line in the game.
Bitch can't even swim.
Can we also talk about the second big boss battle against Nemi? To be completely honest with you, for me at this point in the game, I lost most fear for Nemesis. He really didn't seem as intimidating as before. He can certainly give a lot of damage and definitely is a force to be reckoned with. His movements though, honestly make me think he's trying to be a doggo. Doesn't help when he starts doing laps around the battlefield and Jill's just trying to give him some treats. After this fight is done, I got some tea. One is asking the question, is Nikolai doing anything behind the scenes? He looks so clean throughout the game compared to everyone else, and I just gotta ask if he is fighting any zombies or POWs. It's almost baffling to me that he looks so unaffected by the outbreak, or maybe he is just that good at avoiding confrontation. Aside from Nikolai, I also have to bring up the lack of a clock tower explorable area. This time around, we are only treated to the outside of the building during the boss fight with Nemi, and that's about it. Originally with this fight, I thought that what was going to happen was that when Carlos showed up, he would have to traverse the clock tower to get to Jill after she gets infected by Nemesis and falls unconscious, but that didn't happen. A lot of fans of the game have been requesting for DLC to be added with more story content. If I had my way, I would say to make the clock tower section playable, have it be a new Carlos section where he has to go through the clock tower in order to get to where Jill is. I found that after Jill falls unconscious, that the game just progresses to half a day later was a tad strange. You mean to tell me Carlos didn't run into any issues making his way to Jill? This span of time is why I think, if there was to be DLC, there could be a playable clock tower section featuring Carlos solving more puzzles and adding another open area to explore. The game skipping to having Carlos take Jill directly to the hospital I found was a bit of a missed opportunity because of how much of a fan favorite location the clock tower has been for the community. The hospital section features our second playable moment for Carlos, and it's good. It's a solid area and brings some good spooks, possibly one of the better areas to explore in the game as Carlos is searching for a vaccine for that tall glass of water that is Miss Valentine. It's a fun area to explore. You get a machine gun, you feel on top of the world, able to take on anything, and then we get a new threat. Yep, Carlos has some new friends. Now we add some hunters in the mix to spice things up in our delightful zombie outbreak. These enemies are able to take a lot more bullets than most zombies. I enjoy them, but I'm not a fan of their instant kill attacks. It's fine. Just a personal preference. I sometimes can't tell when one's about to do their instant kill attack, so better be cautious or we'll be leaving Jill and me in a cruel Carlos's world, and we can't have that. Eventually, Carlos makes his way to Dr. Bard's office, and he's killed off screen to what we assume is Nikolai's doing because of a dialogue that Jill says later. This was unfortunate for me and a bit underwhelming for the character. I was hoping for something more. All I really get is a video of him explaining he may be in danger, or tape recording, and learning he's a complete dick, but nothing else beyond that. I don't know what's with this game and characters just being killed off screen, but this was another moment I felt like something was missed here. After we retrieve the vaccine for Jill, we head back to a horde battle against the undead, defending the room Jill is in. This felt random to me. It felt like Capcom wanted to recreate something in the vein of the cabin fight in Resident Evil 4. With the tone of this game, it felt really out of place to me with the zombies just blowing up after being defeated. It looked weird. I guess they wanted to give Carlos an exciting send-off since this was the last section he's playable in the game. It was actually pretty tedious though to me. I also want to know what set off the zombies to attack the hospital in the first place. Were they following Tyrell? They just kind of show up after he does, so I guess that's what happened? Also, side note, Tyrell got a good glow up, and I almost thought he would survive. Rest in peace, sweet prince. Now after all that fun, we take back control of Jill and we get to explore the hospital and get some more goodies. I like that the game allows this, and doesn't just have it cut to Jill making her way to a new area automatically. Now at this point, we are in the final few hours of the game. This time around, we don't get to see the Dead Factory or the park section like in the original. I wasn't too bummed about the park. I knew there was likely going to be something cut when the game was first unveiled, but I definitely didn't expect the factory section to be taken out for a whole new area. Instead, for this game we get to explore the best named place. Nest, but with a good-looking 2 just taping the end there. Yes, so Leon and Claire get to explore the cool kid version of Nest while Jill explores a much smaller version. This area doesn't have a lot going on beyond find the vaccine and waste a few baddies, have fun. We do get treated to a new enemy in the form of the Paleheads, you know, that enemy that showed up in the DLC for RE2 Remake? I thought these enemies were a decent enough addition, just very bullet spongy compared to regular zombies. That's about it. I would have preferred if we got the return of the Drain demos here, maybe? A little late to be talking about these guys, I know, since they show up only once in the game in one specific location. It got even more confusing to me with these enemies showing up once because they went through the trouble of adding a new status effect for Jill to get inflicted with, being Parasite, which also was a big no. It's just a big no. First time I saw this happen, I screamed and needed to find the nearest adult because it was a big fat no. We also see some more special infected enemies by Nemesis, which just gives me nightmares when they grab you. It looks like a revamped Parasite that shows up occasionally in Resident Evil 4 and 5, to be honest. I don't really have much else to say for them, seems like a staple for the series at this point. I also failed to talk about the Hunter Y enemies, and that's just because they don't show up nearly as often either. The main location they show up in is in the sewers, and they'd be very scary and can definitely one-shot you if you're not careful. You get to deal with these enemies once more in the lab, and that's about it. They're cool and scary, just feel underutilized to me, same with the Drain demos. Oh yeah, and at some point in the lab we get a little bit of eye candy and see a bunch of tyrants just hanging out and being bros. At this point in the game I was hoping one would break out and stalk Jill a little bit in the area as like a short little spook, you know? But only Hunters got to be cool and break out today. Guess the tyrants have to wait another day. So we eventually get the vaccine, all is well in the world, and then we get stalked by Nemesis some more, which I'm genuinely wondering how he got down here in the first place. Did he go down the same elevator, or did the plot magically give him the strength to go underground? Could be either or, who knows? After some more rounds and Nemesis wanted to go for a walk, Jill finishes another boss battle that plays somewhat similar to the Clock Tower fight. Just this time, zombies being added to the mix and some additional environmental stuff for Jill to take advantage of. This fight was good. It was cool at first, but gosh, it can be brutal on the higher difficulties. So hey, if you want a challenge, this fight is for you on Nightmare Mode. Good luck, seriously, it's kinda... Yes, it is definitely a fight. Shortly after this, we get to see one of my favorite moments of the game, Jill not taking any of Nemesis' shit and going full Gamora with the railgun. This scene was epic. I know a lot of people found this a bit ridiculous, but I loved how extra it was with the railgun. The fight itself is pretty straightforward, and with having to stun Nemesis and go push some stuff to power up your beefy railgun and blow him up. A big thing I've enjoyed throughout this game was just how Jill reacts to the Nemesis. I love just how ready Jill is to take on this foe, and by this point, she's just that badass, and making him out to be just a slight inconvenience to her at best by this point in the game. After we tell Nemesis to take the hint and walk literally through what remains of him, we go find Carlos, who I'm surprised Nikolai had left alive if he knocked him out. We get a little brawl, Jill gives us a few more cool kid lines where we ghost Nikolai and fly away. Bye, bitch. Jill and Carlos then get to fly out to safety, ending Jill's last escape, revamped edition. This scene was good. Jill leaves the play off with a solid monologue about how the virus was started due to greed and the plane is saved by the power of plot armor. I don't know, it feels like they were hella close still to the blast. I don't think they would have survived that. Now the game is done, people probably well aware that they didn't include branching paths this time around. Something I really found cool with the original game was having those anxious moments of choosing what to do during a conflict that you have to quickly decide on the spot. I like that addition. I feel like it gave you more power as the player to choose what you do. Seeing that taken out is a bummer that I really wish wasn't cut. It created a lot of replay value for me wanting to go back and see how things can play differently based on those choices. Also, speaking of things that were cut with different endings, yeah, there's only one ending for this game, so my hopes of seeing a Barry cameo in the RE engine was definitely crushed. I was very sad. Resident Evil 3 is a roller coaster that once you start, it just keeps going with constant events happening so fast until you reach the end. It has its pros and cons, but I would say it is a solid addition to the RE series. I do feel this was more of a reimagining than a remake though, just how different things played, and with many fan favorite areas being cut. I hope this doesn't become a trend with the remake, seeing as we are now seeing many rumors that this team is greenlit and moving on to remake Resident Evil 4 now. Good luck. Would I say that this is better than the original? I'd probably prefer the original to be honest, but these are both two different experiences. I can definitely recommend people give this one a shot if you haven't already, because there are things to do. The game does give a really good incentive to replay it with the in-game shop being able to unlock special items as well as unlock some key inventory stuff early with even some special weapons. Oh yeah, and you also get a side game in exchange for mercenaries called Resident Evil Resistance. It's a decent enough multiplayer that I'm still playing on occasion. I think it does have some good promise, and I hope that Capcom keeps supporting this. Also, Capcom, please give me Carlos as a playable character. Capcom, please. I need this. Other than that, I think I just about exhausted what I wanted to throw out there. Opinions on stuff are fun, and I'm curious what the rest of you thought of this game. Did this resonate with you? Leave a comment and we can chat about it. If you like this, be sure to like and do the subscribe thingy wherever that thing is, and ring the bell for videos the off chance I ever manage to get up and make another video again. Also, if you're interested in checking out my Twitch channel, links shall be below. I stream occasionally and make mild funnies while being terrible at video games. That's basically, yeah, that's on my resume. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day. Wow, so I made a thing. Honestly, was a little hesitant on making content again on the platform. I actually went back to a few prior videos like, I could do better than this, and decided to work on this lovely video. I did this thing where I try to take my time instead of rushing stuff out, and I think it came out well. Again, thank you all that stuck to the end, and I will see you guys in the next video in whatever form that takes. With that, bye now.